This is what's called the market unraveling. It's called an unraveling market. You can't trust the high quality goods. Eventually they go away. You are left without any high quality goods in the market at all, which is good for nobody. You can think of a couple of other situations where we might see this sort of spiral occurring. One is hoverboards. Remember, those were real popular a few years ago, but it turned out some hoverboards are really high quality, some hoverboards are pretty low quality. And it was pretty difficult to keep straight which brands were the good ones and which brands were the bad ones. So what happens over time is that the high quality boards started getting less and less, and you started seeing more and more fires and explosions and things like that. And now hoverboards just aren't that popular anymore. You can't really expect to buy a good one. Yeah.
Put that on the podcast.
Yeah. Phone calls is a great example of this, right? Used to be that you would get a phone call and you'd be like, well, you know, there's some chance that it's a telemarketer, but there's also a pretty good chance that it's somebody that I want to talk to. And so you pick up the phone, right? And then over time, as we realized that there was less and less of a way, as our detection systems that we have on our phones got worse, and it became harder to distinguish the high quality calls from the low quality calls, people realized if I want to get a hold of somebody, I can't call them anymore, right? I need to text them or do something else. So, you know, fewer high quality calls, which means that a higher proportion of the calls that you get are spam. And so you're less willing to pick up the phone. At some point, you realize there's just so much spam that I'm not going to pick up my phone anymore if I don't recognize who it is, right? That didn't used to be the case. It used to be that you had a high enough expectation that whoever was calling you wanted to talk to, that you would pick up a random number, right? Now, why would you do that, right? Which means that, again, the market has unraveled. There's no purpose really in trying to send a high quality phone call anymore, unless you know that they have your number in their system. And so that market has unraveled. It's all low quality, pretty much all low quality. Information on the internet is an example of this. Another one that I really like is gourmet food. So gourmet is a word that means high quality in relation to food, right? But there's no real control over it. You can put the word gourmet on anything, right? And so what ended up happening? Well, a lot of low quality food started marketing itself as gourmet. And so then the word didn't really signify high quality as much as it used to. And then over time, people started associating the word more with low quality food than high quality food. So now when you hear that some food is gourmet, you're more likely to anticipate like a movie theater pizza, right? Or like a bag of popcorn than you know, a nice fancy meal or something like that, right? The market for gourmet food has unraveled, right? All of the low quality imitators have taken over the market, pushing the high quality products out, or at least to a different marketing term in this case. Used cars is not really on this list. As I mentioned, they have managed to solve some of these problems in the used car market. So this problem really applies anywhere where you have quality that differs but cannot be verified directly, right? And you can imagine a lot of cases where that's true. At the very least, these are all situations where a market unraveling could occur without some sort of change to the system, right? At least there's a possibility that there's going to happen. You got to watch out in some way. So, you know, employee quality is one place where this happens. When you hire somebody, you don't know how good they're actually going to be. Similarly, when you get hired by someone, you don't know how good of a workplace they're going to be, right? There's some mystery there. Romantic partners, product quality, positions that politicians take, you don't know how serious they actually are about them. Uncertainty about the future, all sorts of things where there's some sort of quality difference that we cannot verify ourselves directly, at least not easily. And in all of these, you can imagine how the market for lemons might pop up, right? And you might get an unraveling market. So the lemons problem is really only one problem in our economics of information. There are many other problems in the economics of information, but it is what we're going to focus on in this class because it pops up a lot, and you know we're only spending a couple days on it, so we can't do that. We're going to think about where do these problems arise, how are they dealt with. That's something we're going to get next time, and how well do these sorts of solutions actually work. So, what are the features that a problem needs for a market for lemons to pop up? So, point one, we need to have options of differing quality. And this can happen in two different ways. One, it could be a quality that the seller chooses, right? So in the case of the game that we played, you got to choose whether you were selling high quality or low quality goods. It can also be a quality that's inherent, right? For example, how productive is a given plot of land? How skilled is a given worker? A great example of this that came up recently, I'm sure you've all heard of the Zillow crash, right? So Zillow was in a situation for a while where they were buying up a bunch of homes based on the estimates that they made about the home's quality, right? And here's how it worked, right? So they have an internal system that values homes. And that's their whole thing. There's Zillow, right? And then they decided, no, if we have these really good estimates of the quality of homes or how what homes are worth, we can make offers to buy these homes on the basis of the estimates. We think the house is undervalued, then we can buy it, flip it, sell it for a profit. Real easy, right? So what happened? So what's going to happen here is that Zillow has an idea of what how value this home is based on what they can see, but they don't live there, right? They're probably not even looking that closely. I don't know how much they were visiting, they were doing to these houses before they bought them. But whoever actually lives there knows more about the home than Zillow does, right? You know, oh yeah, there's a mold problem in the basement that we cleaned up, but it might come back. Or I'm a little bit worried about that crack in the wall over there. It's been growing, right? You know these sort of things about your house. So Zillow has an idea of what they think the quality of your home is, but you have a better idea, right? So they make you an offer. One of two things is going to happen. Either they've offered you less money than you think your house is worth, and you're not going to sell it to them. Or they offer you more money than you think your house is worth, and you will sell it to them. Right? There's an asymmetric information problem here because I know something about my home that they do not. Which means that pretty much every home that they bought, or at least a large number of the homes that they bought, had secret problems with them that the seller knew about, but Zillow didn't price into their model. Right? So we had all these options of different quality that they knew more about than we did, as Zillow, I say we, as Zillow did. And so they ended up buying a bunch of things that were lower quality than they expected them to be. So then when they tried to sell them, they had to sell a huge portion of their homes at a loss. They lost millions and millions of dollars. They fired a bunch of people recently because it lost so much money in this process. Right, so yeah, that was number one, options of differing quality. Number two, it has to be the case that the quality cannot be observed directly. So in the Zillow case, I don't know how much investigation they were doing into these homes. I don't know if they were sending people to go look at them, but there's only so much that you can do, right? You can't do the full, complete investigation. At least there's some element that's left out. Right? If you can do that complete investigation, then there's not really a problem, right? If you know as much as the person selling the thing does, then there's no issue at all. So for a market for lemons to occur, it has to be the case that those different quality levels cannot be directly observed. There needs to be at least a little bit of a gap between what is true and what you observe. And you know that you can't observe it directly. You know that there's something missing. Yeah.
Don't they normally have like inspections?
Yeah, so they do have inspections, but I think the real problem pops up if there's something that the inspection doesn't catch, or it's the kind of problem that the inspection is not going to look at. So there's a number of things that the inspection might not catch. It might just be not as thorough an inspection as you want, or it could be something like a person who's inspecting for like the stability of the house might not pick up that like it's the ugliest fireplace you've ever seen in your life, or like, oh yeah, the neighbors are like blasting music 24/7, right? Which things that might affect the value of the house, but not be a literal problem that the inspector would catch. And then finally, the third thing that needs to be there for a market for lemons to pop up is that there needs to be an incentive for somebody to misrepresent their quality. Right? There needs to be somebody out there who would gain from telling you that they are of a different quality than they actually are. This could go in either direction. In some situations, somebody who has a high quality thing would gain by telling you that they are low quality. But most of the time it would be something with a low quality thing telling you that they are high quality. So when all three of these things happen at the same time, there are different qualities out there. I can't tell which one you are, but I know that you have an incentive that someone out there has an incentive to misrepresent to me, so I can't entirely trust what's going on. I'm not going to trust all the high quality values that are out there. I'm not going to be willing to offer them what they are worth. And then suddenly all that's left is the low quality.